Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Emmanuel Lens back again with another video. So this one I'm sure is the good one because I've been actually redoing this intro quite a few times, considering the fact that I was kind of still looking for how to structure this subject that I'm going to talk about today. It's not really something very controversial, but I think there is something missing in the Canon lineup. Canon used to release a lot of this point and shoot at some time. The G5X, the G7X, you have Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, which is the latest one that they released in 2019. The G5X that I have here had been released in 2015. It was a really great success, and they followed it up with the G7X. And these cameras are powerhouse. They call power shot. They literally also powerhouses of cameras because they pretty much have everything that you may need in terms of usability. You can literally do a photo shoot with this camera. It saved me. It came in a pinch a few times because I forgot to charge my bigger cameras. So that's one nearly died on me. And then I took some shot with this one. Then I shot with my bigger camera and nobody really noticed because this is like a 21 megapixel camera. So it's quite a capable camera, and considering that you have a lens here that is an equivalent to a 24 to 70 and with a pretty good aperture because it goes from 1.8 to 2.8, so you get a lot of get a lot of light in this lens. I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to be like blowing out of your mind, but it's a very capable camera considering for the price. And I got this camera pretty much for like $170 here in South Africa, so it was a steal. Unfortunately, I didn't get it with a charger. It just came like this with a battery. I just picked up one of those universal charger and I use it. I've been using it pretty much like this. It's not any of my main camera. I normally took this camera to use it as my YouTube camera, but considering that the quality that it gives me is not really acceptable, but it's not really terrible either, I just felt a little bit bad and I can't really use this for YouTube. And the fact that it doesn't have a microphone input, those are some of the cons. But the size of this reminds me a little bit of the craze that's going on with the Fuji X100 series. So you could literally get this camera, you could literally use this camera for an X100 substitute in some sorts. I'm not saying that it has the same capability, but considering that you first of all have a zoom range that's pretty acceptable, so considering that you have a pretty good zoom range, you have manual control. The only thing I don't really like about the camera is it doesn't give you an opportunity to kind of change your picture profile. So because you don't have picture profile here, you can't really compare it to the usability and the user friendliness of or even the customization of a Fuji X100 series. So that one thing that is a big con for me on this. But so the autofocus on this camera probably is still better than any Fuji that I know at this point because this uses phase detect autofocus. The battery life is horrible. I don't really like it. This one is rated to have like 210 shots, so which is already very, very little. And if you consider the size of the battery itself, you can see for yourself that you need at least 2 or 3 of these batteries to really get you going the whole day. If you're using this as only for the day and you say you want to challenge yourself to shoot this, it has a hot shoe mount, which is something that is kind of, for a camera of this size, you can literally put a professional flash out here and let's say a trigger, something of this nature, and get going and shoot. And it has a leaf shutter. The shutter is in the lens, so you can shoot in any shutter speed, which is something that's really amazing because I've tried that. I'm like, wonder why is there no shutter limit on this camera? Is there something wrong or anything like that? But yeah, those are some of the amazing things about this camera that I like. And the size, as you can see, it literally fits in the palm of my hand. I have a big hand, that to be said, but it does fit in the palm of my hand. And what else can you say is more pocketable than this? Considering the fact that you have that zoom lens built in the camera and the physical dial, you have literally 3 dials in this camera, and which is something that I also find amazing. You have so you have your dial here, you have your mold dial over here, you have an exposure compensation dial. Even on professional some of the Canon camera, there is no exposure compensation dial. I don't know how they put one in this one and they don't put it on freaking bigger cameras. You have another back dial here, which, so the way I've customized mine is when I'm shooting manual, the front here, the front dial is for aperture, the main dial here is for shutter speed, and I have this one back here is for ISO, and it works for me. To be honest, this, I haven't been showing it a lot of love, to be honest, and I haven't really been showing it a lot of love. I don't know why, but I don't think I'll ever sell this camera. Or if I sell it, I really just need to get maybe the Mark II or Mark III of this camera. And Canon hasn't released the G5X Mark III, so you have a small EVF here, which works pretty okay, which works pretty fine, to be honest. And you can do some pretty good thing, and it's not too bad in terms of resolution. You have about 2 million, what is it saying, about 2 million dots or OLED. It's actually a LED, so that's why it's always looked so sharp and so clean. And phase autofocus, you really have quite a lot of things here. So the ISO is not too bad here. On this camera, I can comfortably shoot at about ISO 2000. 3000 gets a little bit too bad, but 2000 is really okay, and I can get away with that. It has so many pros that when I count the cons, because of the size, it doesn't really matter much, because that would be being very judgmental and maybe impartial. It's not a camera that is meant to be used professionally, but you can literally get away with shooting a few stuff with this. And let's say in terms of video, 1080p doesn't do any 4K, unfortunately. The 4K came after, I think, with the G5X Mark II. 10K, I'm saying 10K, hopefully 10K. So 1080p up to 60 frames per second. This camera already had slow-mo, because by the time I got this camera, I had the Canon 600D as my main camera. So now I have a Fuji. Fuji is actually one of my main cameras that I use, but you already have like 660p, so which is you can slow mo some of the video, and this camera can come in a pinch. I always keep it in my bag, because you never know. You will never know. This might be the camera that just saves the day. And these cameras, these are cameras that you need to keep always in you. So, and this is probably could be the saving grace for Canon in terms of competition out there. Canon knows how to make cameras. That's something that I'm not going to discuss. They know how to make cameras that are tools, right? This is a proper tool that you can have on your arsenal, even as like a C cam or a behind the seat camera. Unfortunately, the battery life is the only thing that really kills this camera for me, and it doesn't charge via USB. There is a USB port, but it's not for power delivery. So that is something that also I found a little bit meh. And there is a HDMI cable. Imagine there is the same HDMI cable in this camera is the same one you find in the Canon R5. No, let's just be honest. This is the same HDMI that you find in the Canon R5. How is that possible? This camera that came out in 2015, and you have the same HDMI. Really? So I was talking about HDMI. So you can't tell me that you, in that big beefy camera that Canon has made, the R5, you didn't have the space to put at least a mini HDMI. This is a macro HDMI, micro HDMI. So Canon can't tell me that they didn't have the space to put a mini HDMI on the R5. So they pushed the same HDMI as in this tiny little camera. And I don't even know why there's an HDMI in this camera, because this is literally not a video-centric camera. But it works, it's usable. And it has Wi-Fi and NFC. So literally, so if I press this button, I switch on the camera, and there's a button here. I can communicate and download my photo through the Canon Camera Connect app, which works fantabulously. To be honest, that's probably the best app until maybe Fuji did renew the app. And one thing as well, I don't know why Canon does this and why they cripple the apps, or they cripple some of the cameras. You can't download raw photos from this camera to your phone. I do not know why. I don't know if it's just the limitation of the camera or what, but I think it's possible. That's just impossible. With my 800D, it's the same thing. I can't download raw photos into my camera. I think with the other cameras, I've had a 6D, so I was able to download the raw photos from the camera too. But yeah, it's just it just doesn't work. And one critic I have about the camera, as I said, is that I can't do any picture profile when I'm shooting JPEG or RAW. So it's literally whatever you do that comes there. So let me just say, if I go into my menu, and the Canon menu is good. I'm not even gonna lie. It's the same menu that you find in all the Canon. So from this camera all the way to like your R, it's the same menu that you will find, and that makes it just very easy to use the camera and to go from one camera to the other. So, and it has an ND filter. One thing I actually wanted to mention, and that was very important actually, it has an ND filter, and that's really came in the pinch a few times when I was just using this camera and challenging myself to only shoot with camera. Sure, it's a bit of a cheat because you have like a zoom lens on this camera, but having that ND filter really just shows how important ND filters are. I don't know why no camera. I think every camera should have an internal ND filter. Imagine something this tiny as a internal ND filter. It's one stop. Granted, it's only one stop of ND. I don't know if it's maybe ND2 or ND4, but it works. To be honest, like, why can't we on DSLR or on mirrorless camera? Why can't we have internal ND? I don't know. We have shutters. We could use shutters and as ND, and I mean, really, just why don't we have internal ND on cameras, on mirrorless camera? We have on this one, Canon. We have on this one. Puts that there is enough space. I believe there is enough space. If you've been able to cram, if you're able to put a tiny HDMI here, I still think that there is enough space to put the ND filter. I don't know how it works, the mechanic of that. It could be an engineering nightmare, but I do believe that there is a possibility to put an ND filter. Blackmagic did it very easily, to be honest, with the 6K Pro. With the full frame, they didn't do it, but yeah, with the 6K Pro, they did it, and with the Pixies, I think they also did it. Canon, I think, can definitely do it. Fuji, now that you're moving into like videos, I think you should be able to do it. Sony, I know you can definitely do it and put ND filters. So can we just have ND filters? So that says a little bit of my, I don't know if you have quality runs or anything like that, but this camera is a sleeper. And if you can pick one like this, if you can pick a tiny Canon camera, not necessarily this one, but any other one, like your G7X, your G5X, the G9, I think as well. There's the G9 series as well. So get one for yourself and just keep it in your bag, because you never know when it will come save you in a pinch. This one has saved me a few times in a pinch, and I've done, as I've said, professional. Back then maybe I was a beginner. Now I always work around with like about 3 batteries, and I have 9 bodies to never really be in a situation where a camera, a lens, a camera is failing on me, or the battery goes low or anything like that. So yeah, get yourself one of these slippers. It will come and help you in the pinch. I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out.